Today is my birthday, and it's also the 55th day since I went bankrupt. Hello everyone, my name is Fan Fan. I'm 28 years old and I'm in debt for 380,000. During this time of dealing with bankruptcy and debt, I've truly experienced the ups and downs of human relationships. It was my grandfather's birthday a few days ago and I wanted to go home to see him. But I couldn't even scrape together the $109 I needed for the trip. I reached out to every single relative and friend hoping to borrow a little money, but not one person was willing to help me, not even a penny. I feel like I can't hold on much longer. At 40 years old, I'm carrying over 1.09 million in debt, something not many people my age have gone through. Since the debt crisis hit, I get countless debt collection calls every day and even receive texts saying I'm being sued, though I'm not sure if they're real or fake. I understand that when you owe money, you have to pay it back, but living like this is incredibly depressing. The debtor was once a wealthy boss, managing restaurants, training schools, and even involved in construction. He had several luxury cars parked at home and a happy family, and everything seemed perfect. However, now his wife has chosen to divorce him due to the immense pressure of the debts, leading to the breakdown of his family. In recent years, the economy in mainland China has continued to decline, leading to an increasing number of the middle class falling back into poverty. Many families that were once middle class have fallen into financial difficulties due to multiple pressures from mortgages, education, and consumption. I'm in my 40s now, I've nothing and I'm burdened with over 270,000 in debt. Looking back at my life, it feels like a complete failure and I'm the worst among my peers. As a father, I can't be with my child who is under a year old and can't provide a good growing environment or education for him. As a son, I've also failed to take care of my elderly parents and fulfill my responsibilities. This feeling of helplessness causes me immense pain. A netizen shared that he hasn't had a good night's sleep in over 10 days. When he talks about his situation, many people might find it hard to believe or even laugh at it. Right now, he doesn't even have a few dollars. He used to be the owner of over a dozen online stores, managing 50 to 60 employees. But after 3 years of the pandemic and being betrayed by a business partner, he lost everything and ended up with over 310,000 in debt. Now, he can't even afford to buy his child a $10 shirt. There are 110 million people in the country living in debt. Do you think these people aren't working hard enough? On the contrary, it's often those who work late into the night who are the most deeply in debt. Even so, their income still isn't enough to cover all their expenses. Credit cards, installments, mortgages, car loans. The moment money comes in, it's already used to pay off debt. With the end of the year approaching, many people are unable to pay off their debts, and some don't even have savings left. These lives are suffocating under the weight of debt. This is the reality for many people today. Many people rely on credit cards to cover rent and living expenses in their daily lives. When unexpected costs come up, they've no choice but to take on debt through online loans or credit card debt. This debt is like a noose. The more they struggle, the tighter it becomes. Even working overtime tirelessly, they can barely keep up with paying off their monthly debts. There are also many who ended up in debt because they were deceived by people close to them. I'm in debt. I'm from Hebei, 33 years old, and I owe over 270,000. I haven't had a good night's sleep in almost a month. I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, but I can't even come up with $10 right now. I used to be a supervisor at a company, and when things were good, I was making over 6,000 a month. This young man was cheated by his closest friend. Now his house has been mortgaged, and he's burdened with massive debt. A few days ago, his child's kindergarten called to remind him about next month's tuition fee, and all he could do was awkwardly remain silent. I never would have imagined that I'd be betrayed by my most trusted friend. Last year, his food factory urgently needed a loan, and he asked me to be his guarantor. He had helped me a lot in the past, so I didn't want to refuse, so I agreed to be his guarantor and sign the guarantee contract. As a result, he not only failed to pay off the loan, but the factory also went bankrupt, and he disappeared without a trace. Looking back, it feels unbelievable, but now all the responsibility has fallen entirely on me.
现在想想，真是一个笑话，全部都需要我来承担。
A netizen shared that he tried to contact the person, but his phone was turned off and no one answered the home phone. When he went to his house, he discovered the property had been sold, leaving the entire debt on his shoulders. Since he was the guarantor, creditors had already sued him for compensation. That day, he negotiated with the creditors who gave him a 2-month deadline to repay $48,000 or face further legal action. However, he was already heavily in debt and struggling to get by, and this unexpected financial burden left him feeling completely lost. He expressed frustration, saying it was impossible for him to raise such a large amount in a short time. The unexpected debt had pushed his life into a crisis. Soon, he'd also have to face a court trial. Some people under similar pressure have reached their breaking point, with some even considering prison as a way to escape the relentless burden of debt.
今天我报警了。
Today, I called the police and asked, if I voluntarily go to jail, will I get free food and shelter? After my company went bankrupt, I ended up $500,000 in debt. My bank accounts were frozen and my Alipay was restricted. No one will hire me, and even affording food has become a problem. Now, I spend every day wandering along remote roadsides. Everyone around me is laughing at me, and the humiliation is becoming unbearable.
所有的人都在看我的笑话。
A few days ago, I opened a new card without linking it to any platforms, credit cards, or apps like WeChat or Alipay. After working hard for a month delivering food, I earned a few $100s, which I deposited into the card. A few minutes later, all of it was deducted, leaving me with nothing. If I were a machine, I'd need fuel and recharging too. I've never refused to repay my debts, but you have to let me live in order to make money to repay you, right? Now I have nothing left. Why is it that you can deduct money at will? How am I supposed to survive? This money was even meant for my child's medical expenses. Why are you doing this? Are you trying to force me into a corner? Today, the delivery platform even suspended my account. I'm really fed up with these financial institutions, and I want to speak out for all debtors. Don't push us too far. Don't push us into a dead end. Don't you want the money you lent us back? Finally, I beg the lending platforms to give debtors a chance to survive, to allow us some opportunity to earn and repay. I've reached my breaking point with debt, and now the creditor has to watch my expression. If you want to sue, go ahead. One lawsuit or several lawsuits, there's no big difference. My contacts are already exposed, so do whatever you want. All my relatives and friends know I'm in debt, and my WeChat, Alipay, online loans, and bank accounts have been frozen by you. One person who owes over $4 million shared his story. He used to create many job opportunities locally and was a trusted business leader among his employees. But in May 2023, due to blind investments and overexpansion, his business unfortunately went bankrupt, leaving him with massive debts and overwhelming pressure.
我们已经都无法正常生活了。
We can no longer live normally. Put yourself in our shoes. You're suing me, demanding forced repayment. The bank has frozen my accounts, the court has auctioned off my property, and now I can't even use my bank card. Do you know why so many bankrupt business owners eventually choose to give up? Do you understand how hard life is for those of us in debt? Many business owners may drive Benzes and BMWs and talk business, but in reality, they can't even scrape together their kids' tuition and living expenses. This debtor points out that these business owners once contributed to society, worked hard for decades, sacrificed their families, and drained their health. Now they're facing immense pressure. After bankruptcy, they not only have to deal with the scorn of friends and family, but also the ridicule of former partners. They want to start over, but banks and financing platforms keep blocking them. He emphasizes that most debtors aren't dishonest. They went bankrupt because they tried to stick it out and ended up with crushing debt. He doesn't want to be labeled a dishonest person or carry that stigma, but the barriers, in reality, make it almost impossible to get back on their feet. He urges society, banks, and platforms to support debtors, lift some restrictions, and give them a chance to start over. In recent years, China's economy has been in decline, pushing many in the middle class back into poverty, and cases of business bankruptcies and overwhelming debt are becoming more common. The government has tried to boost the economy with policies aimed at stimulating consumption, but the results have been disappointing, sparking public dissatisfaction and doubt. Many people bluntly say that the reality of having no money makes consumption-boosting policies seem hollow and ineffective. In one video, an elderly person questioned, "My salary can't even cover the toll to get on the highway. How can we talk about stimulating consumption?" He sarcastically added that what people lack isn't stimulation but income growth. Experts generally agree that the reason consumption in China remains sluggish is because of the low proportion of disposable income to GDP, high household debt, and a widening wealth gap. Many families not only can't afford to consume, but are struggling to cover even basic living expenses.